This video is going to have two parts. In part 1, I'm going to discuss the only clear flaw in Sexton's game, his 3-point shooting. I want to break down his technique to see if there are any possible improvements that I think he could make to improve his ability to consistently hit threes. Part 2 of this video is going to feature the much anticipated return to this channel of NBA skills trainer Ryan Razooky. Much like in our last video together, where Ryan broke down Trae Young's Summer League performance, Ryan is going to use Sexton's impressive collection of Summer League games to analyze where he is in his development at this time in his young NBA career. There is no doubt that Sexton is an elite athlete with a palpable desire to be great. The only possible concern at this point is really his shooting. But as Ryan will point out later on in this video, Sexton has great potential to become a disruptive defensive player and a lightning-quick downhill offensive player in the years to come, whether he develops a 3-point shot or not. The first part of Collin's shooting technique that I want to focus on in this video is his offhand. If you have seen him shoot at all, you may have noticed something a little funny happening with his hands, particularly after he releases the ball. Let's take a look at what I mean. As you can see, Collin's left hand moves quite quickly back towards the middle of his body, and even beyond the center line, all the way over to his right shoulder. Those of you who have seen my previous videos might recognize something similar that I broke down with Steph Curry's offhand in this footage. The two movements are in fact very similar, albeit more exaggerated with Sexton. However, there is one key difference, one that I believe makes this movement beneficial for Curry, but detrimental for Sexton. That difference is the thumb flick. Because Curry has a thumb flick, I suggested that this movement works in concert with his thumb flick to apply consistent pressure to the ball from the left side, counterbalancing the slightly off-center placement of Curry's right hand underneath the ball, which was producing rightward pressure. However, with Sexton, you can see that he has no thumb flick. His left hand is more traditional in that there is no thumb flick or hand rotation. But as I mentioned, it's not traditional in that there is this large sideways movement. Because Sexton does not have a thumb flick like Curry does, I see less of a reason why he would benefit from the inward movement of the left hand. Instead of his thumb applying pressure to the side of the ball, it is likely his left hand fingers, which have a larger surface area and less mobility than the thumb. This makes me think that the contact between his left hand fingers and the ball is causing some kind of friction, thereby inhibiting the consistency of his release. I think that Sexton should go in either direction, utilize the hand movement in concert with a thumb flick like Curry, or eliminate the hand movement altogether with a classical offhand style like that of Klay Thompson or Damian Lillard. The next thing I'd like to point out is how Sexton's right hand finishes after the release. As you can see, his right hand points inwards or to the left when he follows through. This is likely related to the rightward friction present because of his left hand. If we go back to Curry's shot, we can see that although his right arm drifts inwards towards the left, his right hand does not point inwards from the wrist like Sexton's does. As a general point, I would like to say that it's always better to follow through with your hand pointing straight towards the basket or slightly outwards of the wrist, away from the center of your body. This is because those angles of follow through prioritize the correct release fingers to be the last to make contact with the ball, that is the index and middle fingers. If your hand and wrist point inwards on the release, like with Sexton, you're more likely to introduce input from your ring and pinky fingers into the release, something that is almost always detrimental to your consistency. So, to summarize, Sexton would likely benefit in his 3-point shooting by doing two things. First, eliminating his offhand movement after the release of the ball, and second, pointing his hand and wrist forward or outwards instead of inwards during and after the release. Before I hand over to Ryan for the game analysis portion of this breakdown, I'd like to briefly discuss the future of this channel. I've decided to create a Patreon account so any of you who would like to contribute to this channel and its message can. I've had a few issues in the past with the NBA claiming content in my videos when I try to use game footage. And because I'm not willing to reduce the quality of my videos, my ability to fund this channel has taken a bit of a hit at times. For those of you who are able to contribute and are interested in learning more, I will leave a link in the description box. Thanks for your patience, and I'm now going to let Ryan take over.
Thank you so much for having me on, Seamus. I'm excited to be back for a second collaboration, and this time we're talking about Collin Sexton. So the first thing I noticed in watching Collin play is that he plays with amazing pace. He's very composed, he's poised, and no matter what the defense does, he doesn't seem to get rattled at all. So currently with the state of the NBA, the pick and roll is used quite frequently, nearly every single play, whether it be the initial setup or whether it be later on in the play. The pick and roll has had a very interesting history with the way its success rate has changed over time. Originally, when it came out as the greatest play of all time, then the defense learned to adjust and cover it differently, and then the offense learned to adjust and make different reads based on the new coverages, and now its success rate is high again. So as you watch Collin Sexton come off his pick and rolls, he's typically looking to go downhill and attack the mismatch with the big, or he's coming down and shooting his elbow jumper. Another thing he does quite frequently is looking to the opposite side, and he will find shooters over there in the corners and the wings to knock down open jump shots. He's able to move his body from levels of high to low to get past defenders, and he's got a great quick first step. He's also able to move from slow to fast. Another way that he's able to get to his spots and knock down his shots. Him being able to control the pace is a huge factor in his ability to play at this level of basketball. He's going to have a large impact in every single game he plays just because he can control the tempo of the game. He isn't afraid of the big moment. He proved this against the Lakers when he hit a fourth quarter game-tying three with 26 seconds left. Two things that I'd like to see him do better are to hit the screener more often, whether they're rolling, short roll, or popping, looking back at the same side that he originally came from, or hitting the guy in the strong side corner where he originally came from, lifting up for an open three. The second thing that I'd like to see him do better is come off and be able to shoot the three at a higher percentage than he did in the Summer League. He only shot it at 23%, and at that percentage the defense will be able to account for that and go under all of his screens, taking away many of his options. With his play style, he's going to have to be in incredible shape, pushing the ball on offense and transition, and then coming back down and sitting in a stance. James Harden is a good example of someone with high usage who is able to succeed on offense and win a lot of games, although his teammates had to do a lot of work for him on the defensive end. If Collin has to carry the load offensively and defensively, fatigue will set in and his decision-making and shot percentage might decrease over the course of the game. Hopefully, Tyronn Lue can find a way to get the ball in and out of his hands enough to alleviate some of his offensive strain. Defensively, opposing teams are going to continue to attack him with on-ball screens that will force him to either fight over or fight under or use different coverages, not allowing guys like Kevin Love or Tristan Thompson to switch because they're defensive liabilities, and that's going to hurt the win percentage of the Cavaliers. Also, his teammates Jordan Clarkson and George Hill haven't really proven to be able to play well off the ball, so hopefully with the ball in their hands a little more, Collin can prove that he can move without it, create open shots for himself, and cut to the basket when it's open. Now, I do believe he'll have success in the league for various different reasons. Now, first and foremost, he's playing in the East in Cleveland, where there's not too much stress, there's not too much pressure on him. He uses his body well, doesn't force the issue. He gets to his spots in the mid-range and he knocks down his shots. He's able to finish well with both hands around the rim, whether it be acrobatic or going through contact. And most importantly, he plays very well off the pick and roll. Hopefully he can develop that three-point shot to open more options for himself and for his teammates, being able to play off the ball and to be a threat, forcing defenders to play up, allowing him to have more driving angles. If he can make the shooting adjustments that Seamus mentioned earlier, he's going to have a long career in the NBA and be a franchise point guard in the league.
Thanks, Ryan. I recommend that you guys check out Ryan's channel for tips on how to improve aspects of your game outside of shooting, all of which are very important. I have both of our Instagrams on screen now, so be sure to check out our content over there too. As always, thanks for watching, and you'll hear from me in the next video.